All right, so we're going to keep things simple. It's a random Saturday night, and Shane Mosley just was defeated by some god, Avanesyan, I believe that's his name, and he's now the #1 contender for the winner of Thurman versus Porter's the WBA title. But we're going to start off the video talking about Deontay Wilder versus Chris Arreola, which is likely rumored, which is being rumored to happen. And what we're going to do first is we're going to talk about who Deontay Wilder can fight if it's not Chris Arreola, and who he can't fight. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the hold on, let me pull it up real quick. We're going to go to the WBC rankings, and we are going to talk about the WBC rankings. Hold on, let me find it. Let me find it. Hold on. All right. So here's the official WBC rankings. Now, what you'll see is when it comes to Alexander Povetkin, here's the way I feel. When it comes to Alexander Povetkin's situation, the drug was banned in January of this year, starting January 1st, if I'm correct. He failed a drug test. What was that? In April. He failed. No, excuse me. He failed the drug test. Whatever. I forgot when he failed the drug test. But long story short, as a matter of fact, let me look it up real quick. I forgot it. I want to know the exact day. He failed the drug test. April 27th. But the thing is, he failed he passed 2 prior drug tests before that. Now, the issue I'm having is his team is saying that they last took this drug in September. This one, Mosley. But the problem is if you took it in September, then how did you pass 2 drug tests in April but fail that final drug test? So how did it show up after 2 failed drug tests? Also, what they did was they banned the drug at the beginning of this year, but what they did was they gave people, athletes, until March the 1st to, have it out of their system. So it's like, okay, I can understand if you took it before, January 1st, but by the time March the 1st comes, it should be out of your system. So in my opinion, the fight is contaminated. I'm going to get back to the WBC rankings. Just give me a minute. We're going to talk about it. In my opinion, the fight is contaminated, and it shouldn't happen. And one of the reasons why I feel Alexander Povetkin hasn't been suspended yet is because his promoter is a billionaire. I feel that it's so much money involved that they're trying to give Alexander Povetkin the benefit of the doubt. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm not going to involve race or none of that, because I don't believe it's a racial matter. He took the test on the 7th, 8th, and 11th and passed. So it was 3 tests that he passed, and then the 4th one came up positive for the banned substance. Now, I feel, as I said, the WBC doesn't want to suspend him because maybe it's some type of evidence that we don't know about. Maybe they can find out when exactly it was found in his system. We're hearing that it's like 70 nanograms. It's a very, very, very small trace amount. But what we've known is we know that fighters or dirty fighters have ways of flushing stuff out of their systems. The main point I'm trying to make is it's financially motivated. The reason why Alexander Povetkin is not suspended yet. So technically, whether you like it or not, he's still the WBC mandatory. But what the WBC is allowing for Deontay Wilder to do is they're allowing him to fight another voluntary, which would mean, he fought Johan Duhaupas as a voluntary. He fought Artur Szpilka as a voluntary. He fought Eric Molina as a voluntary. And now he'll be fighting another voluntary because Alexander Povetkin, in a fight that I was actually saying he was going to win, in a fight that I wanted to see badly, he fucked up. So when it comes to steroid allegations and all that, I look at it like this. First, what I do is I research what the drug is supposed to do and how it can help the athlete. In this case, this was a drug that's supposed to help with stamina. If you want to go the distance, this is the type of drug you would use. And it's not like the situation with the contaminated meat. With the contaminated meat situation, for fighters that are in lower weight classes that have to cut weight, I look at their situations as, okay, well, there's a good chance that you probably was using it to cut weight. But when it comes to a fighter like Lucas Brown, who's a heavyweight, I'm thinking, well, maybe he wanted to be trim, before the fight, but it's like you're a heavyweight. But it's rumored that he's going to fight Chris Arreola. Now let's go back to the WBC rankings and talk about why he's going to be fighting Chris Arreola likely, or who he can possibly fight. So remember, what you got to do is you have to understand that when it comes to the boxing organizations, you have to fight somebody within the top 15. Within the top 15. The rankings are updated monthly. Now, no, they're not updated, at the first of every month, but they're updated monthly. Whenever somebody decides to get their ass, up and do it. So as you can see, they still have Alexander Povetkin listed as the as the mandatory. Then you have number 2, Bermane Stiverne, who he already beat. Kubrat Pulev, Johan Duhaupas, who's the WB Silver Champion after beating Robert Helenius. Carlos Takam, Joseph Parker, Andy Ruiz, David Haye, Brian Jennings, Malik Scott, who he already beat. Artur Szpilka, who he already beat. Eric Molina, who he already beat. Derek Chisora, Ruslan Chagiev, Gerald Washington. Now let's go down the list again of fighters that he can fight, and for what reasons. Well, we know Alexander Povetkin, the drug test. Bermane Stiverne may want the fight, but I don't think that they would do that again. I don't think they would give him a rematch unless it's mandatory. Fans don't want to see that. They would be outraged, especially since it's a voluntary. Kubrat Pulev just came off of a fight with number 13, Derek Chisora, and he's now one of the IBF mandatories, and I highly, highly, highly doubt that Deontay Wilder would choose him. Johan Duhaupas, of course, he already beat. Carlos Takam is likely not going to get chosen after losing to Joseph Parker just a week ago. Joseph Parker is one of the other main IBF #1 contenders for Anthony Joshua, and he hasn't been talking any WBC talk. He's been talking nothing but Anthony Joshua. Andy Ruiz is a top-ranked fighter. That alone right there, may exclude him because Andy Ruiz is top-ranked #1 heavyweight, and he's inching very close to being a WBO mandatory, which Tyson Fury has, but of course it could be Klitschko if he wins. You got David Haye. David Haye would love that fight, but it would be too many politics involved. People are going to say, well, that's a fight that can be made. David Haye would take the fight. Nah, trust me, it would be a lot of fucking political bullshit that would be involved, and plus they would want to save that for a super fight. When it comes to Brian Jennings, that's a fight that can be made, but I don't know if they would make it. I don't know if they would make it. What I've seen is that when it comes to Jay Prince and Gary Shaw and Brian Jennings, they're more affiliated, somewhat with HBO. Of course, Malik Scott, he already beat. Artur Szpilka, he already beat. Eric Molina, he already beat. We already talked about Derek Chisora. He just lost to Kubrat Pulev a couple of weeks ago, so you can rule him out. And also, he's trying to get a fight with Dylan White, a fight that can actually be made. Ruslan Chagiev is now the WBA world champion again. Remember, this hasn't been updated for June yet, so he's going to be taken off this list, because when you're a champion with another sanctioning body, you can't be you can't be ranked. And Gerald Washington, which is a fight that can happen because he's an Al Heyman fighter, but would Al Heyman put another one of his top heavyweights in a championship fight this soon? Remember, he already put Charles Martin in the top heavyweight fight. He put Dominic Breazeale in a top heavyweight fight. And then would he sacrifice Gerald Washington to Deontay Wilder just yet? But like I said, it's a fight that really can happen. Now, when you look at Chris Arreola, now remember, these guys, you can't fight these guys because they're not in the top 15. You can't fight these guys. You can't fight these. And then when it comes to Chris Arreola, look down here. Now, because he was suspended for getting high on pot, he was removed from the rankings. But see, you're removed from the rankings if you're suspended, if you're injured, or if I forgot the other reason. Oh, if you're fighting for another title, for another sanctioning body, you're removed from the rankings. So the WBC has already stated that, yes, Chris Arreola will be put back in the rankings soon, because the suspension is almost up, or if it is not almost up, it will be up. And who will they remove from these rankings? Likely Ruslan Chagiev or Kubrat Pulev. I don't know. But when it comes to Wilder, when it comes to the Chris Arreola fight, that's pretty much, you know, who he can fight. Now, of course, in this, you're going to say, well, you know, why can't he fight Luis Ortiz and all these other guys? They're not ranked. You know, if Wilder doesn't fight any of these guys, he loses his WBC title. He loses his belt. So I hope that has a I hope that helps a lot of people understand a little bit what's going on, you know, with the rankings. No, Gerald Miller is not with Al Heyman. Gerald Miller is with Cohen Promotions with the E. With the E. So what was I? Let me see. What was I going to talk about next? It looks like to me that if the WBC were going to suspend Alexander Povetkin, they would have done it already. But there's so much money involved, and truth be told, I personally feel, whether you like it or not, you know, whether you say he's a drug cheat or not, he failed the drug test. So in my opinion, you're a drug cheat. Whether you like it or not, I feel that Wilder really didn't want to fight. I felt that he wanted the money. You know, and I've interviewed him personally myself. I felt that he wanted the money, but I really didn't feel that he really wanted to fight, you know, Alexander Povetkin. And I know for sure, that he didn't want to fight in Russia. But it is what it is. You know, he kind of, a lot of people feel, not just myself, a lot of people feel that he dodged a bullet. Now, could he beat Alexander Povetkin? Yes. You know, could he? But would he have? He can beat him, but we know that Deontay Wilder has a suspect chin. We know that he has a suspect chin. Yeah, Antonio Tarver. I've been watching Antonio Tarver's Twitter. He's definitely trying to get back in the mix, and it's not. Tarver's done, in my opinion. He's done. He's done. If they suspend Povetkin, would they slide Chris up in the top 15? Well, Chris Arreola is going to be in the top 15 anyway. He just was temporarily removed. So who they're likely going to remove is, pay attention to the WBC website for the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks at the most. They're likely going to remove Ruslan Chagiev because since Lucas Brown's been suspended, Lucas Brown's WBA title now goes back to Ruslan Chagiev. So, you know, you can't be a champion and be ranked at the same time. But well, see, here's the thing. A lot of people want to make you believe, or try to spin it like, Wilder had no problem going to Russia. No, Wilder had to go to Russia. The Russian promoter won the purse bid, so which means he wanted promotional rights to the fight, and he wanted the fight to be in Russia. The fight wasn't even going to be on Showtime. That fight had a lot of fucking crazy shit going on with it, man. That fight had a lot of crazy shit going on with it. But like I said, when it comes to Povetkin, I don't believe that he should get the fight. I believe that he should be suspended. He failed a drug test by the most respected drug testing organization. And then the story that they're saying about they last took it in September, it just doesn't make sense unless they're going to pay for some super, they got some frozen isotopes or something somewhere, I don't see what kind of evidence they can come up with to say, look, WBC, we really wasn't doing anything we wasn't supposed to do. And then, Russians, athletes got just a shady, Russian athletes, you just got to watch Russian athletes. They're known, for trying to get the extra edge. And I learned that at a very young age watching Rocky IV. Look at Ivan Drago. He just juiced and then killed the man. Ivan Drago juiced, killed the man. Nothing happened. No consequences. No suspension. No nothing. No nothing, man. No nothing. No nothing. But it looked like it's going to be Chris Arreola. And Chris Arreola, even though Chris Arreola has been knocked out before, Chris Areola's, last few fights have been suspect. Chris Arreola is dangerous, especially early in the fight. Chris Arreola has boxing skills and ability, but his chin, he just gets knocked out. I know it's a movie, man. Shut out, Dr. Strange. He just so it's not a fight that I don't want to see. I want to see Chris Arreola versus Deontay Wilder. I want to see it. Now, me knowing what I know about the politics, I know that Deontay Wilder wants to fight before the end of July, or definitely in August. You have to look at the rankings, and you have to do a process of elimination of who he can and cannot fight. Simple as that. Who he can and cannot fight. So let's talk about are we done with the heavyweights? Let me see if it's any other let me think about if there's any other heavyweight news that we're missing. Oh, let's talk about we're going to talk about Lara versus Triple G a little bit later. When it comes to heavyweights right now, we know that David Haye versus Shannon Briggs is official. There's just no date. They're saying it's going to be in September. I'm thinking that they're probably waiting to align it with the Floyd Mayweather McGregor fight. Probably have it in the date. Over here in the States, it would be the daytime, and I'm thinking they may do something like that. To get extra fan support. But David Haye versus Shannon Briggs is not a fight that I want to see. David Haye will now be fighting a 45-year-old and Shannon Briggs, this Grogjack guy, and the Demore. This is supposed to be one of the top heavyweights. I'm talking, all right, but David Haye right now is in a situation where he's good, he's talented, but he's having a hard time getting big fights because of his promotional affiliation, which is none. He promotes himself. When it comes to Tyson Fury versus Vladimir Klitschko, something about this fight just seems kind of eerie, man. Tyson Fury is good. I do feel he can beat Vladimir Klitschko again, but something doesn't feel right. Also, you have to understand that Vladimir Klitschko knows that if he loses, it's over. He knows that if he loses, it's over. So I'm pretty sure he's going to make some adjustments. Ricky Burns won today. Ricky Burns won the vacated title that Adrian Broner, lost on the scales to, well, when he fought Ashley Theophane. So Adrian Broner has said that he can't make 140 pounds anymore. He lost his belt because he couldn't make 140 pounds anymore. I don't feel that he's going to be fighting at 140 pounds again. So him going back to fight for a belt that, he lost, and he didn't even try to step back on the scales again, I just don't see it happening. Shout out to Eddie Hearn for doing a fabulous job with Ricky Burns, getting him a title shot and getting him a fight that he can win. But when it comes to the 140-pound division, Ricky Burns don't want no parts of Victor Postol. Ricky Burns don't want to lose to Terrence Crawford again. He may be able to go after the IBF title and in unification, but as far as the WBA rankings are concerned, in fact, let's look at them real quick. As far as the WBA rankings are concerned, as y'all would say over there, they're shite. Let's see if you can see this. Let me see if you can see this. Let's go look at this. Let's go look at this crap. Because that's what it is. It's crap. It's bullshit. Now, you see Michele DiRocco? You see what Ricky Burns was? Now, look at the rankings. You got Mauricio Herrera, who lost earlier this month. Now, remember, this hasn't been updated this month. You got Ruslan Provodnikov. Depending on what weight he's fighting John Molina at, he could be the next mandatory. But when it comes to the WBA, they only make mandatories when you ask, or when they feel like it. Whoever the hell this guy is, Kirill Relak, Adrian Granados, Omar Figueroa was walking around at like 175 today on the PBC on Fox Sports card. You got Robbie Davis Jr., you got Zara Amansos, Antonio Orozco, Khabib Alakverdiev, Julio De Jesus. You see what I'm saying? Do you know any of these goddamn names? So for Ricky Burns to have the WBA title and for him to be known to have some financial issues over there in the UK, especially after the split from Frank Warren, this is like a dream come true for Ricky Burns. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts fighting, on Kell Brook and Anthony Joshua undercards, defending this belt for the next 2-3 years against this, because he won't be obligated to fight any of these guys. He won't be obligated to fight, a very deep WBC rankings with guys like, Matisse, Felix Diaz, Amir Imam, even though he lost. So, shout out to him for winning. Shout out to him, for getting a title, 3 different weight classes, 130, 135, 140, and the first Scottish fighter to ever do so. It's history. But at the same time, I know the deal. I know the deal. I know the truth behind it. I know the truth behind it. Thinking he's going to get Adrian Broner. Yeah, but I don't know what's going on with Omar Figueroa. Omar Figueroa was commentating on the PBC card tonight, and literally he was fat as fuck. He was looking, and I'm not bullshitting. He was looking like 170, maybe 180. Now, in his last 3 fights, he fought in 3 different weight classes. He fought at 135, he fought at 147, and then he fought Antonio DeMarco above the 147-pound limit at like 150-something. Then he came into the ring looking real soft. So I don't know, I don't know what's he doing. Who sells 8,000 tickets in the U.S.? Oh, here we go, Ricky Burns. Listen, I'm not clowning Ricky Burns. I'm just saying, we know it was smart, promotional work by Eddie Hearn to get Ricky Burns that shot against a fighter that he can beat. Against a fighter that he can beat. But anyway, let's see what else is on the list. We don't know what Amir Imam is doing. His promoter, Don King, last I heard, was trying to get him a rematch with Adrian Granados, because what happened was he was supposed to be the #1 contender for Victor Postol. And since he lost, the WBC didn't make Adrian Granados the #1 contender. So I don't really know where they're going. Amir Mansur versus Wilder. Amir Mansur was not ranked. I would love to see it. And Amir Mansur was actually a really good fighter. He was winning his last fight until he got his jaw broke. Miguel Vasquez versus Bonet. Yeah, I can see that. I can see Omar Figueroa versus one of those guys, but he's got a steep weight cut. We don't even know what weight he's going to be at. We know he's not fighting at 135 anymore. Will he fight at 140, 147? We don't even know where he's going to be at. Denny Garcia versus Andre Berto is looking very likely. My thoughts on Chavez Jr. being back with Freddie Roach, I look at it like this. Did you notice, follow Chavez Jr. on Instagram and on Twitter and all that. He's always training and he's always in the gym. I'm just happy that he's not training in his backyard and that he's actually at the wild card. But the thing is, he ain't gonna make weight. Whatever fight his next fight is, all this training and shit he's doing, he's not gonna make weight. So we don't know what's going on with Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux, okay, let's go back to the rankings again. Rigondeaux is now. Okay, here's the thing. The WBA, as I said, is weird as fuck. The WBA is so inconsistent and weird. They don't follow their own rules. They don't even follow their own rules. So you got Scott Quigg versus Carl Frampton happened. But here's the thing. It's a rare circumstance where very rare, very rare. In fact, I don't believe it ever happened before. Where you had the WBA world champion, not the WBA super champion, the WBA world champion unifying a title against IBF Carl Frampton. But see, in order for that to go through, in order for that to happen, they had to eliminate Guillermo Rigondeaux's title. So it could be like it was the only title for the WBA in a division. So what did they do? They said, well, Guillermo Rigondeaux was going to be a champion in recess. And then once Carl Frampton moved to 126 pounds, because the winner of Frampton versus Quigg was supposed to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux. As we know, Carl Frampton won, dropped his IBF title, and then actually he was stripped of his IBF title, and he dropped his WBA title, moved to 126. So what did the WBA do? They made him, Guillermo Rigondeaux, WBA Super World Champion again. It's just a weird situation. But let's go back again and look at the rankings and look at what will probably likely be next for Guillermo Rigondeaux. Let me see here. And I tell you, it's not going to be pretty, because like I said, with the WBA, if they don't order a mandatory, then you can pretty much fight whoever you want. But as you can see, he's listed as the only champion. And remember, they have two champions. Look, in this situation, they did Cuellar dirty by making Leo Santa Cruz the champion. Look, you see how they have. But let's go back down to 122. Now he has to fight any of these guys. Now, Moises Flores, do you know these people? Jesus Rajos. Of course, you got Scott Quigg, broken jaw, still recovering. Jesse Magdalenino, Adam Lopez. Look, read these names. Do you know any of these guys? Jazza Dickens was going to fight him. Do you know any of these guys? So Rigondeaux's future is not looking too bright unless he goes for a unification. But against who? And would it matter? So in my opinion, for big fights, he's got to chase these guys to 126 or maybe 130. So Rigondeaux's career is still, like it's in jeopardy, man. It's in jeopardy. It's in jeopardy. It's in jeopardy. Strong indications are that Mikey Garcia is going to sign with Mayweather Promotions. Yeah, I did hear that also Mikey Garcia was considering self-promoting as well. I don't believe Mikey Garcia is going to sign with Oscar De La Hoya. That's what I'm wondering too. I'm wondering. I don't know if Mikey Garcia has the money, the finances to self-promote. I don't believe he has it. I don't believe he has it. Rumors of Rigo versus Jimmy McDonald on the Brook undercard. Yeah, right. I believe it when I see it. I believe it when I see it. Oh, if you don't know, it is done. It's not official, but it's done. IBF champion Kell Brook is going to be taking on WBO champion Jesse Vargas. I believe. What did they say? It's going to be in August or October? I believe they're saying it's going to be in October. I believe they're saying it's going to be in October. Now, when it comes to Shane Mosley, in my opinion, Shane Mosley is done. You know, because do you want to see Shane Mosley fighting at that caliber? He's 44 years old, going on 45. He is now 3-5-1. 3 wins, 5 losses, one of which he quit against Anthony Mundine, and 1 draw against Sergio Moore. Shane Mosley is done. Now, I talked about it in my post-fight video. Let me tell you what Shane Mosley did. He went down to a barbecue, and I believe he stayed at his house with the WBA president. And he had some bullshit fight for some bullshit WBA title, you know, being in cahoots with the WBA president. Like, basically, look, he went and hollered at the WBA president, and the WBA president hooked him up with a situation like, all right, look, I know you ain't ranked. I know you ain't been winning. I know you ain't been fighting good names, and I know you fought smoking ass Ricardo Mayorga in that bullshit pay-per-view. But I'm gonna hook you up. All you gotta do is beat this Avanesyan guy, you know, and then we'll make you the WBA mandatory. So the WBA, as I said, they're weird. They play by their own rules. They somehow made him, you know, the winner. I mean, they somehow made him and Avanesyan, you know, mandatories for Thurman versus Porter. And then you got Shane Mosley in interviews talking about 10 million. Talking about the only way he would fight one of those guys is for 10 million. Now I understand he's got some financial issues. It's been known, he's even talked about it, that his ex-wife, Jen Mosley, really did the number on him. And I'm thinking, no. So, you know, now I'm thinking, like, where does he go? He just was like slow looking, the jab, but the thing is, when you see his sparring videos, he be putting that work on. But you know, it's sparring. You know, now I'm wondering, like, where does he go from here? Well, you know, I like Ray Beltran, but the thing is, he failed drug tests too, man. It's a shame, you know, because I be liking these boxers, but I think to myself, like, yo, like all this clean sports shit. Me personally, I believe all fighters should take VADA. I believe all fighters should be tested 24/7 all year round. You know, I remember where a certain fighter was saying that he was being Olympic-style drug testing. And before I started becoming like a boxing reporter and all kind of stuff like that, I really believed him. I really believed, like, yo, he really taking Olympic-style drug testing, yo. That's the cleanest, cleanest sport. I used to believe that shit. You know, when I used to see it on, you know, 24/7, him talking all that shit. Now I'm like, no, I know the truth. I know the truth. Mr. IV, Mr. Dehydration IV, my ass. Fucking, I'm dehydrated. Fucking IV. 750 milliliters? God damn. But anyway, welcome. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Oh yeah, that is true. Drug testing is very expensive, you know, and that's a lot. That's one reason, you know, why a lot of fighters don't, you know, do drug testing. To be perfectly honest with you, because it is very expensive. It is very expensive. But what you learned is the boxers with the more money, with the most money, can afford the better, more designer drugs. Yes, they should ban. I believe the IV should be banned. Yes, I do, especially in boxing. You know, if you can't rehydrate the right way, you know, then no, pull out the fight because you're endangering your fucking body. Simple as that. And with the IVs, what they do is they mask, like basically they dilute your blood. You're replacing, you know, like you're flushing your system. You're flushing your system. So what else is on our list? We got to talk. Yeah, we got to talk about Canelo versus Golovkin. What's the latest on that? The latest on it is that the fight is dead. You know, it's as it stands right now, they're not talking anymore. Now, do I feel the fight can happen in the future? Yes. Do I feel that they wanted to fight now? No. Do they want it this year? No. Do I feel that Canelo's team is confident that he could beat um Golovkin? No. You know, so dropping your title, you know, in this type of situation, it's no matter what your excuse is, no matter what your excuse is, it just looks bad. It just looks bad. Bellew didn't fight yet. Yes, I'm a big Tony Bellew fan. I will be watching it. I will be watching it and covering it. Also, Canelo is Golden Boy Promotions. You know, he's Golden Boy Promotions. You know, without Canelo, what does Golden Boy Promotions have? Let's go look at some more. Let's go look at some more rankings, and let's talk about. Let me see here. Here we are. Now, as you can see, Golovkin, WBC, WBA, IBF. Now, Danny Jacobs is the WBA world champion, but Danny Jacobs is being rumored to be fighting Sergio Mora again. Now, you don't see Sergio Mora in these rankings because remember what I told you, when you get injured, you are temporarily removed from the rankings until you know you wait a minute. Why is Anthony Durrell? What this is this really? You see this? You see this? Wait a minute. 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 I want to know the truth. Huh. The WBA is fucked up, man. Y'all see this shit? Now, if that's him, the WBA is fucked up, man. He's never fought at 160. He's never fought at 160. I told you. I told you, man. I told you. He's never fought at 160. Anyway, when you look at the rankings, there's only a certain amount of big fights for Golovkin. There's only a certain amount of fights that fans will want to see. Now, when you look at the WBC, look at the WBC rankings. Look over here. Who out of these, you know, would Golovkin get credit for, and then not say, oh, he's just fighting bums still? Now, You got Chris Eubank Jr. and his, reunited promoter, Eddie Hearn, saying that, they would sign a contract right now. But then guess what they would say? Well, he's got to come to the UK. And I'm sure it would be all kind of other political bullshit. He already beat David Lemieux. Hassan Ndam won a very quiet fight yesterday. And when it comes to WBC rankings, who else do you really want to see him against? Andy Lee, Peter Quillen, when it comes to, the WBA. You got Turiano Johnson ranked right there. Atandil Kurtzitz, but he's fucking 5'4", literally. He's not going to get no respect. He's not going to get no respect put on his name for fighting him. When you look at the IBF, who? Sam Solomon? Matthew Macklin is retired. Who? Then you got Billy Joe Saunders. So in my opinion, the only fights that really Golovkin, put it this way, this is who he should fight next. If he can get Billy Joe Saunders, then Danny Jacobs. If he can't get Danny Jacobs, then get Landy Lara. Simple as that. One of those three, one of those fighters. One of those fighters. Now, when it comes to Billy Joe Saunders wants big, big money that I don't think can be generated off of the fight, and Golovkin get paid too. Unless he comes over to the UK. The thing I'm concerned about is, when is the WBA going to order Danny Jacobs? Because they're ordering this fucking Avanesyan guy who beat Shane Mosley to fight the winner versus Thurman versus Porter. They ordered the winner of Alexander Ustinov and Luis Ortiz to fight the winner of Klitschko versus Fury. They're very close to ordering Landy Lara versus Jack Corkay, from what I've learned today. What other fights did they fucking order? The WBA, they're very inconsistent. Before, they had ordered, this was before, Adrian Broner lost the belt and, lost the belt on the scales, and Benavidez moved up. They had ordered Benavidez versus Duraco to fight the winner of Adrian Broner versus Khabib Alakverdiev. But yet, when it comes to Danny Jacobs hasn't fought a mandatory in God knows how long. Now, look, Peter Quillen, Sergio Mora, Caleb Truax, Jared Fletcher, that's when he won it. And you would think, when have you ever heard about him fighting a mandatory? When? Now, I don't count these as official rankings, but these is, basically. Now, people criticize Golovkin. Now, I say, okay, all right. Dominic Wade was a mandatory. David Lemieux, he fought him for a title. Willie Monroe, that was a free fight. You really have to question, why did they get Willie Monroe? But I'm pretty sure, other fighters wasn't around. He fought Martin Murray because he was a future WBC mandatory and the WBC silver champion at the time. He fought Marco Antonio Rubio for the WBC interim title, and then he fought Daniel Gill. So people say, who is he really fought? Well, can you really see that there's not really too many fighters that he can fight? Also, when it comes to Andre Ward, that fight's gone now. And that's what people keep holding on to. They keep saying he should have fought Andre Ward. That fight is gone. Whether you like it or not, it's gone, unless, it's gone for the next year, plus. It's gone. Jacobs mandatory is supposed to be Chris Eubank Jr., but the WBA hasn't ordered that yet either. Like I said, they're like, the WBA is just inconsistent. The WBA is just inconsistent, man. But what time is it? Yeah, I still got about 15 minutes left. Anyway, what do you guys want to talk about in this last little bit of time? Oh, I am going to be getting back to schedule. I know I keep saying it, but give me another couple of weeks. Give me another couple of weeks, and we'll be back to regular schedule where I'm covering boxing on a more consistent basis. But as of now, I've been handling a lot of things, taking care of a lot of personal issues and whatnot. All right. Let me see. Let me read some questions in the chat. Nope, no new PS4 games. No new PS4 games. Gabriel Rosado is fighting next week. It'll likely be an untelevised fight. I forgot the guy's name, but he's in talks to fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in the future. In the future, still working on a website. I'm desperately. See, what it is I can't go to fights until the website's done. I can't start going back to fights, until the website's done. I finished the like rough draft, like as far as not the rough draft, I forgot what it's called, but basically I got a layout of how everything's going to look. I'm going to be contacting my partners and colleagues and letting everybody know what's going on. But I'm not playing no fucking Ratchet and Clank. I'm a grown-ass man. But yeah, the website's coming along, and I can't go to fights until the website's done. So what I'm going to do is I wanted to have it done before Thurman versus Porter, but I'm not going to have it done before the deadline of the credential application. So what I'm going to do is I'm likely going to have it done. Well, I'm trying desperately to have it done before Frampton versus Santa Cruz in New York, so I can go to that one, and that can be kind of like the grand opening for my channel. But I mean, for my website. But it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. Chavez Jr. versus Mosley Jr. Listen, Shane Mosley Jr. was getting tagged up. Shane Mosley Jr. is not good, man. Shane Mosley Jr. is not good. What I want is, I look at it like this. I feel that Golovkin should move to 168 pounds after he defends all of his titles twice. No more than twice. This is what I feel he should do. I feel that, in a perfect world, if everything worked out, he would fight Billy Joe Saunders and then maybe fight a Danny Jacobs or like a #1 contender, a big name #1 contender at 160, like, a moving up Arizona Lara or Charlo, get like one of those slick boxer names under his resume and then move up to 168. I feel that, he should not be at 160 pounds by mid-2018. Mid-2018. About 2 years from now, he shouldn't be fighting at 160 pounds anymore. Yeah, man, Shane Mosley is done. It was kind of like, it was sad to see because I'm watching it and I'm like, he looking slow as fuck, man. But Shane Mosley Jr. is just, dude was getting punched all in his face. I like Jose Benavidez. Jose Benavidez is good. I'm glad that he's moving to 147 because it's a more comfortable weight for him. I mean, the guy's 6 foot tall fighting at 140. I did want to see Jose Benavidez versus Adrian Broner. If both of those guys would have stayed at 140, it was a fight that could have happened within a year. Yeah, the state of boxing in 2015 is pretty shitty, and truth be told, it's because of the rankings. The rankings are all fucked up. Yeah, Julian Williams versus you sure it's Jamal or Jamel? Jamal is the IBF. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. Yes, Andre Ward versus Nathan Cleverly is said to be done for July the 30th as well in Oakland. It's not official, but what I'm hearing, it's done. And then it is already official that Andre Ward is going to be fighting Sergey Kovalev if he beats Isaac Chilemba on like Tuesday. What is that? July the 11th. They're going to be fighting in November. Well, they want to keep Andre Ward busy. You know, that's what it is. They want to keep him busy and get him more, his body more acclimated to 175 pounds. And Nathan Cleverly is a good fight for him, in my opinion, even though he's going to get, you know, schooled. Going to school the shit out of him. But we got about 10 minutes left. What's the next big fight? The next big fight, like really, really big fight, is going to be Thurman versus Porter. And then we got Fury versus Klitschko. You know, of course, we got a Postol Crawford or Crawford Postol. Miguel Cotto is supposed to be announcing a an opponent soon. But here's the thing. Okay, Juan Manuel Marquez has been wanting to fight. Juan Manuel Marquez has been training. I heard somewhere that the fight was close to being made, but as of today, Juan Manuel Marquez is injured, and he's 43 years old, if I'm correct. And it's just a way for, you know, his body's just telling him to hang it up. You know, modern science just can't help anymore. It's just not helping Marquez. What I noticed about Miguel Cotto is fighting fighters that are either smaller than him or fighters that it is known that he can beat. Well, he's trying to fight fighters that are smaller than him or it's known that he can beat. You know, guys like Diego Chavez, he reached out to. Guys like Ruslan Provodnikov, he reached out to. Guys like Brandon Rios, he reached out to. You know? And it's like those, like, really, really, really cold out, those type of guys you want to fight? Really? You know, somebody said James Kirkland. I wouldn't be surprised if it's James Kirkland. I wouldn't be surprised. James Kirkland is damaged goods. James Kirkland is damaged goods. The Native American boxer on Crawford Postol undercard. I don't know. Robert Guerrero versus Adrian Broner would be a good fight, and I believe that's a fight they will make. Honestly, that's a fight they would make. Kirkland would have a chance against Cotto if he went back to Ann Wolf, but see, he don't want that. He don't want that mental anguish. Yes, Liam Smith would be a safe fight for Canelo, and Liam Smith and Frank Warren confirmed earlier this year before the Amir Khan fight that the fight was offered to him. So they may be revisiting that again. Cotto versus Kirkland, I don't want to see that on pay-per-view, but here's the thing. Cotto's next fight is going to be on pay-per-view. Remember, he's got that big Rock Nation contract, and also Cotto thinks that he's a bigger star than he really is for some reason. Cotto versus K9. K9 is done, you know, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm surprised he beat Carlos Molina. No, not that Molina. I'm surprised. I think Kell Brook is going to give Vargas a lesson. It's going to be his biggest fight, and one thing about it for sure is if Kell Brook wins, Eddie Hearn is going to look like a fucking genius because Kell Brook, a unified champion. But the thing is, he won't be able to get the winner of Thurman versus Porter anytime soon, which I wanted to see because this whole Avanesyan guy. Goddamn WBA screwing shit up. Clowns. I really did want to see Kell Brook versus Diego Chavez. You know why? Because Diego Chavez is a fighter that's crafty, and also, put it this way, Diego Chavez kind of brings out the best in you if you beat him. you know, because it really shows that you have a certain skill to be able to beat a dirty, you know, savvy, you know, fighter. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, but Diego Chavez would have been a very good fight for Kell Brook, in my opinion. Yeah, the WBA is weird as fuck, man. The WBA is fucking weird as shit. In fact, let's go look at the WBA rankings real quick before I sign out of here and just look at how just fucked up their whole system is. Now, I want y'all to look at this with me. I want you to look at this with me. Here is what a super champion is supposed to be under WBA rules. Definition: a super world champion category or undisputed world champion. Now listen to this. Let me read the 401, because this is the reason why it was created, but it's not being used for the way that it was created or what it was created for. Now, this is from the official WBA website. This is their shit. This is from 2009. Pay attention to all this. The Super World Champion category or Undisputed World Champion was created for those world champions who hold the title of 2 or more organizations recognized by the WBA, like the World Boxing Council, WBC, the IBF, or the WBO. So basically, the Super Championship, let me just paraphrase it before I read some more. The Super Championship, which guys like Floyd Mayweather, Gennady Golovkin, and Tyson Fury hold, that belt was created for, okay, put it this way. So it was created so that if you hold another belt and you had a mandatory, you know, with the WBC, the IBF, or the WBO, then it gave you the option of having more time to get your mandatories out the way so you won't lose any of your titles. But I mean, let me read it so you can have a better understanding. The creation of this category, Super World Champion or Undisputed World Champion, let's just scratch Undisputed World Champion because they don't, you know, that's just the term that's used in boxing. But we're talking about the Super World Champion. So the creation of the category of Super World Champions was born from a suggestion sent to us by Lennox Lewis, World Boxing Association former heavyweight champion, which we have considered convenient in order to give unified champions a more flexible time to defend their titles, as well as the challenger's chance to fight for the title. Proposed regulation. We are still, now listen, this is what I found fucking funny. This is from 2009. We are still working to set the regulation that shall rule the Super World Champions, as we have considered it convenient to establish the following. The Super Champions will be obliged to make a mandatory defense of their titles in a period no longer than 18 months against the boxer recognized WBA champion of the corresponding division. So that means you have to defend your WBA Super World title within 18 months against the WBA World Champion. Now, how come Floyd Mayweather didn't fight Lara? How come Floyd Mayweather didn't fight Danny Garcia? I mean, it wasn't didn't fight Keith Thurman. Now, I did an interview with Keith Thurman, and he said himself that when you're the WBA Super World Champion, you have no mandatories. You know, you're up there on a cloud, you know, of like your own, basically. But let's go back. Let's read some more. In the immediate period between the mandatory defenses, the Super Champion will be able to defend his title against any recognized opponent chosen from the official rankings list of the WBA or from the organization it recognizes with approval of these organizations. The WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO will coordinate whenever necessary their respective ratings to minimize any incompatibility in them for unified titles, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then let's read this last part. In those cases of controversies that make it difficult, the selection of mandatory contender to fight with the Super Champion, the organizations then may be able to order mandatory fights, box office suggested by Lennox Lewis, to determine the mandatory contender previously agreed. In those cases, when they do not reach an agreement to make a mandatory fight as stated, the point in previous bid provisions of purse bid procedure will be ordered. So basically, the WBA title was created. I mean, the WBA super title was created to give like you extra time so you won't be stripped. But now they just make anybody like a WBA, you know, super champion just to do the shit. For example, why was Adrian Broner upgraded to the WBA Super World Champion? Will Ricky Burns be upgraded to the WBA Super World Champion? And then they have somebody fight for the WBA World Champion? It just doesn't make any sense, man. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But, oh, back's killing me. I gotta go walk my dog. Play some 2K. And keep up with the boxing world. Go follow me on Twitter right now. The link is right down below in the description box. You know, I tweet and I'm always on there like sharing boxing news and shit to pretty much corroborate everything that I'm saying. How much do I think Canelo weighs on fight night? Around 175. I don't think he goes to one. I don't think he weighs in at like 180. I would say at most like 175, 176. Yep, at 2:39 a.m. or 2:32 a.m. where I'm at. I'm going with Bartholomew, of course. Of course. But I'll see you guys later. I have a pit bull. Please subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. T Street Controversy, T Street Controversy Live.